Yeah, what's up? You're listening to the Pillaging Podcast, companion podcast to PillagingJustForFun.com, the only Raiders fan site made by Raiders fans for Raiders fans. You can follow us on Twitter at PillageJustForFun. That's at PillageJust4Fun. Also listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. Let's get ready to pillage. What's up, Kane? Oakland Raiders 9-2. Let's get into it.
Hey, what's up, Kenny, man? How was your holiday, man? It was good for me. How was yours?
My holiday was chill, you know, got together with the family. Small gathering this year, but the food was cracking. Speaking of food, I know you fancy yourself a chef, so why don't you give us the breakdown? What was on the Raider Kane family menu?
Oh, man, yeah, I do fancy myself as a chef somewhat, man. We had some smoked turkey on the Traeger wood pellet grill, which I don't use much, but I sought out to use it on Thursday, I'm sorry. And I had a really good smoked turkey. I had a roasted turkey. I had a smoked ham, macaroni and cheese.
I tried to smoke a turkey on Thanksgiving, but I couldn't find rolling papers big enough.
Hey, you should have called me. I would have been able to provide them rolling papers for you, bro. Anytime, man, anytime. Yeah, but no, but honestly, the cornbread dressing was off the hook, man, and you know, just being with the family and enjoying a holiday together, and just, you know, saying thanks to everything, my kids, you know, my family lifestyle, job, you know, the world right now is not doing too good, but I just had to say thanks to just me being here for my family and my kids. What about you, bro? Everything's good with you?
Everything's good, man. I'm really thankful to have family, and I'm really thankful to have Raider Nation as a part of that extended family.
Hey,
well, go ahead, man.
No, I was getting to that. I just wanted to give a shout out to Hawaiian Raider and his tailgate. You know, that was a part of a Thanksgiving dinner as well. We was out there tailgated on Sunday, as we do every home game, but this was a Sunday after Thanksgiving, and we all enjoyed thanks with each other, and we enjoyed a Raider victory, man. So, you know, it was all good.
And let's talk about that Raider victory. What were your takeaways from the game?
My takeaways was that we still look really good on offense. You know, we could have done better in the running game. You know, it's not worrying me. The running game is not worrying me, but I do wonder why we have such a good offensive line with, you know, possibly 4 Pro Bowl linemen, and we're not running the ball consistently as I think we should. Maybe the coaches are happy, but I'm not happy. But the passing game is being where it always been. Derek Carr has been precise. Michael Crabtree is, of course, Michael Crabtree. You know, I think we need to find Amari Cooper a little bit more. Seth Roberts, 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown, showed up again. And, you know, the defense, you can say what you want about this defense from the first, second, and third quarter. But when it comes time to close out a game, make a play to win the game, the defense has stepped up all season long. They show you they bend, but they don't break.
You know, I think that the defense is probably 2 or 3 players away from being an elite defense, or at least a top 5, top 10 defense. We still can't cover the middle of the field. We're not getting pressure up the middle of that D line. We're missing a guy there. Perry Riley was definitely missed on Sunday, patrolling the middle of the field. And the safeties are doing okay. Like we've talked about, Reggie Nelson does get lost at times, but that nickelback position is still a big question mark. I know a lot of people are big on DJ Hayden's improvement this season, but I don't see it as a drastic improvement. Rather, I don't see it as an improvement that's good enough. And I think we really need to evaluate and upgrade that position this offseason. Honestly, think it's going to be easy enough. And if we do keep DJ, I would not be surprised to see him slide over into that dime back slot, that number 4 cornerback position. I want to talk about that a little bit more later, but I wanted to ask you a question because you touched on the running backs and the rushing game. We're 10th in the league right now. It's been slow and steady, but it hasn't been outstanding. We've gotten most of those rushes on big runs by Jalen Richard. But on days like Sunday, where we don't get that big home run play, you really see these kind of modest numbers. So who is Latavius Murray in this running back core? Is it the crew that we saw against Denver, or was that a product of their poor rush defense? Or is it more the kind of mediocre, good enough to get the job done kind of running back committee that we saw against Carolina this weekend? How do you call it? Where do they fall on that spectrum?
Well, first of all, Latavius Murray made the Pro Bowl last year, so let's start off with saying that first, and then secondly, this offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the league. I think it's fallen back a little bit in the last couple weeks since we had that big game against Denver. Latavius Murray is the running back we saw in the rain against Kansas City when he had that big play for 90-something yards and he ran for a touchdown, and that was his breakout game. That was his come-out party. That's who Latavius Murray is. That's what Latavius Murray is going to get you. But for some reason, we just haven't seen that in the last couple of weeks. Do I think it's a problem at this point in the season? I really don't. I think we in December. Teams get beat up, lines get beat up. You know, we're playing top-notch defenses right now. Carolina's defense, actually, if you didn't notice, Carolina has a top 5, top 6 defensive line right now. You know, the teams we've been playing, Houston Texans, they shut the run down. You know, Kansas City, we didn't even run the ball. We go back to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a good run defense. We just been seeing good run defenses. Denver is having a problem stopping the run right now. So that's what we did. We ran the ball against Denver because that's what their weakness is right now. They're a passing defense. We ran the ball against their weakness.
The same could be said for the New Orleans Saints too. We ran the ball pretty well against them, and they're having a hard time stopping the run this year. So I see what you're saying. We're kind of running the gauntlet of great rush defenses in the NFL. You know, we got some games going forward where we should be able to get some yards back for us. Indy, I don't think stopping the run very well. We do get to see Denver again. They'll be looking for it, but they are who they are. So I feel like we should be able to rush the ball against them. And then we got the Buffalo Bills. That matchup we'll talk about in the second half of the show. But let's go back one more time. We're talking about kind of split personalities right now, our rushing game being one of them. Let's talk about the team as a whole. I think it's kind of a split personality. We've seen two different teams, to simplify it, during the season. But I really think if you boil it down and look at it in a microcosm, the first half of this Carolina game on Sunday, the first half of that game, is that an example of who this team could really be?
You know what? I was so happy to see my team come out and put up a 24-7 point lead in the first half of a game. I mean, we haven't seen this all season, bro. This is the team that we can be when we come to play defense. You know, I agree totally. If we put it together, we can come out and we can put teams away in the first half of a game. What I think was the problem with that game, where we went up 24-7, I think this team hasn't gone into the half with a big lead like that. So they still learning, bro. This is a young team. They're still learning. And they took that for granted. I'm going to have to say this Sunday, they took that 24-point lead for granted.
Let's get back to what we were talking to DJ Hayden and the secondary, or I should say the nickelback, the dimeback specifically. Let me ask you a question. DJ Hayden or TJ Carey?
DJ Hayden every day. And let me expand on that a bit. I used to think TJ Carey was a better defensive back, but we just wasn't seeing DJ Hayden. Now, with that being said, ain't neither one of them that great. Neither one of them is that good or that dependable. But if I had to pick one to depend on, because his feet, his foot movement, and his play, the way he knows how to cover, I'm going to have to take DJ Hayden over TJ Carey in that aspect. Now, has TJ Carey been there for us? Has he saved the day a few times? Yeah, but now, looking on it, when I saw TJ Carey out there yesterday, bro, I was wondering why he was on the field. I really was.
I come down pretty hard on both of those guys. quite often. I do recognize DJ Hayden's playing better this year, but I don't think that means that he's good. I think it means he's playing better. He fundamentally just a flawed player in general. He gives up too many pass interference calls. He's very physical, which can be a good thing, but he panics, at the point of contact when the ball's getting to the receiver. Rather than turn your head and make a play on the ball, he's generally locking up arms and putting hands on shoulder pads, which gets him flagged every time. I see it a lot in the red zone. More specifically, actually, really, I see it a lot on third down, and it's just a real momentum killer. And DJ Hayden just frustrates the hell out of me. That being said, he had a really good first half against Carolina on Sunday, stepping in for Amerson. In fact, he could have probably had 2 pick sixes in that game. One on the first drive, the first series by Carolina, the 3-and-out. Could have been a pick six easy if he gets his hands on that ball. And then later in the game, Ted Ginn Jr. slips and falls. Hayden makes a play on the ball. Gets tripped up by Ginn on his way to the ball. Great play by Ginn. Again, Carey made a good play on the ball right there, capitalizing an opportunity. Could have taken to the house. Wasn't his fault. It was unfortunate. But, flashes of good. But then again, it's always the flashes of just pure, what the hell are you doing, DJ Hayden? Very frustrating character, I'd say.
Now, see, I'm gonna have to take a disagreement on some of what you just said. DJ Hayden and TJ Carey. Okay, let's look at the two. TJ Carey started out good, right? We all thought TJ Carey was going to be a formidable cornerback at the most, right? If nothing else, formidable. Will you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay. So if you agree with that being said, DJ Hayden didn't start out so good, right? He started out injured. He didn't play for the first couple of years. It took some time for him to come along. It's going to, he's had to work himself into football shape. He's had to work himself into learning the system. And he's also had to become an NFL player because, remember, he was a rookie. This wasn't a free agent we just signed off the street. He was a rookie that we drafted into our system. So he had to be given time to learn all the nuances of becoming a cornerback in the NFL. So with that being said, if TJ Carey started off such a good, you would think that TJ Carey would just got better, right? Over the years, you would have thought he was getting better as the years went on. Well, to me, he's regressed. TJ Carey has regressed to just a punt returner, where DJ Hayden has actually gotten better at his craft, and he's starting over TJ Carey. So that tells you right there he's above TJ Carey on the depth chart. So that speaks a lot to what we say about those two cornerbacks. One is regressing and one is progressing. Whether he's progressing at the speed you or I would like for him to progress at, obviously he's progressing at the speed the coaches like because he's getting playing time. So we can talk all day about TJ Carey and DJ Hayden, this and that and the other, but at the end of the day, DJ Hayden is the one getting the playing time when it's counting.
All right, let's move on. I got 2 more points I want to hit, then we're going to take a break. Khalil Mack, a polarizing player, even among the Raider fan base. Everybody loves him, but a lot of people still believe he's not living up to his expectations. We've already talked about this before, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But the guy had an interception for a touchdown return on Sunday. He had the game-winning sack, strip fumble. Can we get off of Mack's back yet?
I haven't been on Mack's back at all, bro. I've been looking for Mack to show us that he's the MVP of the defense. And that's what he's done in the last 6 weeks. In the last 6-7 weeks, Mack has shown you he's the MVP of the defense, period.
So I want to say something because I'm a huge Mack supporter. It's the first jersey I bought from, this squad. I own that 52. But a lot of people that, try to support him and they use the hurry stat as something to point to. It's not showing up in sacks, but he's got a lot of hurries. Well, I looked that up, and Mack's actually 25th in the league, and Von Miller, his counterpart, I guess you can call him, or the guy he gets compared to all the time, he's 4th in the league in hurries. So it's not even showing up there. And you could say, oh, teams are game planning for him, lines are taking him away, but they're trying to do the same thing for Von Miller. I kind of feel like my critique is not on Mac. It's more on the creativity on how he's used. I think he needs to get moved around more. We need to take advantage of more holes on those lines and get him in different positions. Play him at middle linebacker on the blitz. Get him on the other side. Play him off the line sometimes. He was a lot more multiple earlier on in his career. And I think they tried to, they put him on the end, pin his ears back, just go. And I think that's great, but I'd like to see him shuffle around a little bit more. We've seen some of that in some games, and there's actually been success. And I kind of wonder why they're not doing that more. It could have something to do with the youth in the middle of that line and not wanting to move them around, or just purely waiting for that line to get comfortable and everything to gel. Again, I'm not a Mac critic at all. I love the guy, but I'm just trying to think how we could even better utilize him so we can see those numbers start to materialize. We all know that guy's a beast. I mean, he's a major force to be reckoned with.
When you talk about Von Miller and you talk about Khalil Mack, you're talking about two top-notch pass rushers, but you're talking about two different pass rushing specialists. You're not talking about two guys that use the same method to get to the quarterback. You're talking about one that's finesse, and you're talking about other that's power. Khalil Mack uses power. Khalil Mack bull rushes to the quarterback. So a lot of times teams use that to their advantage, meaning they bully him, they bull rush him, they pull him down, they hold him, they grab him, they pulling him, they pushing, they move him, whereas Von Miller is trying not to get touched on his way to the quarterback. Khalil Mack is a bull rushing defensive end.
Would you say that Khalil Mack is the Draymond Green to Von Miller, Steph Curry? Is that a fair assessment?
I would think that's somewhat of a fair assessment. One is finesse and one is power.
Right. It's close, right? Close.
Yes.
That being said, I know Draymond isn't on Steph's level and all that, but just we're talking about style of play. So we're talking
about style play.
Yeah, I feel you. I think that's great. I think that's a great point that doesn't get brought up enough. Next topic, we're going to talk about Derek Carr and the finger injury. Very concerning. You touched on it earlier. We were both there in the Coliseum when it happened. Just a collective sigh in the crowd. The whole wind came out of the sails of that pirate ship when he left the field. And then the huge roar when he came back on the field wearing a glove. We know it's a dislocated pinky. We know the x-rays came back negative. My guess is they probably taped that thing up, reset the finger, maybe gave him a shot of something or other and put a glove on it to keep it tight and keep the swelling down. How does that finger feel right now, tonight? And should we be worried going forward? And should Derek Skywalker rebuild his own hand?
Like I said, yeah, maybe we need to turn him into Darth Vader and give him a steel claw, huh? No, basically, I think it's sore. Like he said, he said his hand is sore, but the X-rays were negative. So I look forward to seeing Derek Carr being Derek Carr for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he came out and he was slinging that ball around. In fact, his average yard per completion jumped up, I think, 1.5 yards after the injury on Sunday. So, hell, man, maybe they should just smash all of his fingers. I don't know.
It's hard to get rid of Derek Carr, man. You're going to have to cut his arms off and chop off his legs in order to stop him from getting back in the game, man. He's a true warrior.
The NFL's been put on notice. Derek Carr is a problem.
Derek Carr is an absolute problem. Derek Carr for MVP. Hashtag Derek Carr MVP.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to break down the Bills versus the Raiders, and we're going to take a little bit of a look ahead towards the rest of the season. This is going to be a longer show for most of y'all. I apologize. Deal with it. Raider Nation, we'll be right back. You're listening to the Pillaging Podcast, companion podcast to PillagingJustForFun.com, the only Raider fan site made by Raider fans for Raider fans, featuring fan-submitted articles and the most lively Raider Nation conversation on the internet. Follow us on Twitter @PillageJustForFun. That's @PillageJust4Fun. Also, tune in every Tuesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. Now, back to the show. All right, we're back. Before we move on to next week's game, let's talk about our MVP Who's your MVP for this game? Who gets the game ball?
Oh, man, that's a rough one. I mean, well, I guess I'm going to have to say Khalil Mack. But you know what? With that being said, Seth Roberts, 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Without that touchdown, without that Seth Roberts in the slot, let's not forget about this man, touchdown, that's all he gets, we wouldn't have won that game, man. So you take it. You take a pick.
All right, well, you took my guy, Khalil Mack. So I'm going to go with Derek Carr coming back from the locker room with a dislocated pinky to sling the ball all over that field and lead this team to a win. I'm going to give the game ball to Derek Carr. So I think Khalil Mack, Derek Carr, one on each side. You're right. A Raiders win ain't a Raiders win with that Dread Pirate Seth Roberts touchdown. Got to have one of those. That's become like a signature thing for this team. Is that Seth Roberts touchdown. Seems to just make a difference every time.
That's all he does is catch touchdowns.
That's all he does, bro. Hey, and special shout out to Clive Walford. Derek Carr is having more confidence in him. It's getting his rhythm together. We're finally starting to see what kind of a large target that would be. I'll tell you, man, Al Davis looking down on this team would be really proud. You got gigantic offensive linemen. You got a guy that can throw the ball all over the field. You got a larger-than-life tight end. You got speed at the wide receiver position. You got 2 man-to-man quarterbacks. You got 2 guys that like to get after the quarterback. One of them's just nasty as all hell. You know, we're just missing that middle interior rusher, and I think we got a pretty nice Al Davis type squad here. Hats off to Reggie McKenzie for keeping the tradition alive. Let's take that tradition into next week. Let's talk about this Bills versus Raiders game.
Okay, let me jump. Let me ask you one quick question, real quick. I know you want to jump to the next subject, but I just want to real quick. 2002 Raiders, 2016 Raiders. Who do you take?
I'm going to take the 2002 Raiders just because of their veteran leadership. That's a squad of free agents that came together like no other. I'm going to take that squad over this squad. Rich Gannon is older than Derek Carr, a little wiser than Derek Carr, and I got to give them the edge. But God damn it, it would be a hell of a showdown.
Well, that 2002 Raiders didn't have a Khalil Mack on that team. That 2002 Raiders didn't have a Carl Joseph. That 2002 Raiders didn't have that offensive line. They had a good offensive line. Don't get me wrong. They had Lincoln Kennedy, Barry Robbins, Frank Middleton, you know, Barry Sims. You know, they had it going on. But now I gotta say, Donald Penn, Kelechi Osemele, Hudson, Jackson, and Watson, you looking at 5 Pro Bowlers right there.
See, that's where I disagree. That Raiders offensive line set the tone for them to break offensive passing records all time. Rich Gannon came close to breaking Marino's single season record. You had a top 5 rushing offense, I believe, at that time. The defense had Rod Woodson. They had Bill Romanowski. I mean, they had players on that defense. You had Charles Woodson. So give or take, I think an argument can be made for both teams. I'm going to go 02. You're going to go 016.
The 2016 Raiders don't have Charles Woodson, bro.
I'm saying the 2002 Raiders did, but I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. So let's move on to next week, the Bills versus Raiders. Does Sammy Watkins scare you? He's going to get to start this week. He's only played 3 games this year. Does he scare you? You
know, I haven't had time to look at Sammy Watkins' numbers. I think he played Sunday, and I think he had a somewhat decent game. But what I will say about Buffalo has a very good running game. LaShawn McCoy is not somebody to be playing with right now. And Sammy Watkins, for that matter. You gotta look out for Sammy Watkins. And they got this kid, this upcoming kid, that he's been playing really good football. He's had to step into a position where he wasn't expected to be. Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been a deep go-to guy. And he and Marquise Goodwin, they are formidable receivers. So, you know, if you get a healthy Robert Woods, Marquise Goodwin, Sammy Watkins, and LaShawn McCoy, Tyrod Taylor, those guys been throwing that ball downfield. Those guys have been going deep all season long. And then you throw in a Shady McCoy, oh, man, you need to watch out. This ain't no just let's just look past Buffalo into Kansas City type game. If you want to win this week, then you need to come play.
Yeah, we're going to see a different passing offense from Buffalo this week than we've seen so far. Currently, they're ranked last in the league in passing offense. They're first in the league in rushing offense. They're averaging over 150 yards a game. They're averaging 158 yards a game on the ground. For our defense, that could be a problem. Now, I think our rush defense is better than our pass defense, but it still has some issues. It's going to be put to the test on Sunday. It's going to be interesting to see what direction they go. I would still expect them to rush to open up the pass, but I do expect better numbers out of them on Sunday. Neither team has turned the ball over very much. Right now, Oakland is ranked 3rd in the league, and Buffalo is ranked 4th in the league overall. Tyrod Taylor, I think, has only thrown 4 interceptions to Derek Carr's 5. And Tyrod Taylor's also their 2nd leading rusher. So the turnover game is going to be big here. The team that turns the ball over more, I know it sounds cliche, but as stingy as these teams are, that's going to be a huge factor on Sunday.
I totally agree with you. Turnover is going to play a big factor in this game, being that neither team turns the ball over. So whichever team can force a turnover at the right time and whichever team can capitalize off of said turnover will probably win the game. So we're looking at a close game, and naysayers would say the Raiders are due for a loss. But I'm going to say the Raiders need to keep on winning because we need to keep that number 1 seed.
If the Raiders are due for a loss, they're more due for a 6-game winning streak. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll take another win. Thank you very much. But there's a little hidden stat in that turnover stat. I was looking a little closer, and Buffalo's actually had 11 rushing fumbles. They've recovered, I think, 5 or 6 of them, but they are putting the ball on the ground. So there's an opportunity to be had there if we can get on one of those balls, if that trend continues. So that's a little stat within the stat there. They are recovering them, but the opportunities are there.
I was going to say, I think the DBs need to come out and play. I think Buffalo is not scared of the VAR passing defense, and I don't think that they would be scared to go downfield against Sean Smith or David Amerson, even if David Amerson comes to play, because he was out last week, so we're not even sure what his status is for this week. But with that being said, I don't think Buffalo is going to be scared of our pass defense. I really don't. So I think that, like I tried to say in the beginning, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, and Marquise Goodwin are somebody you need to watch out in this game. They don't have a good tight end. They don't have a tight end that they use much, but that team goes downfield. And if Tyrod Taylor is any of quarterback that he's been going downfield and he's been having success, then Sean Smith and company needs to come to play this week. They already know we're going to try to stop Shady McCoy. They already know that. We can stack the box. We can put Carl Joseph down low, play one deep high safety, and try to stop the run. But what the point and the question is can our DBs stop that passing game? Because that's what's really worrying me right now. When I look back at the Carolina game, and I look back at pretty much all season long, Sean Smith is vulnerable against the deep ball. If nonetheless, he's vulnerable against the deep ball. And this is what this team does. Look at the stats. Tyrod Taylor goes downfield. So with that being said, if we don't come to stop the pass, because we should be prior to playing Carolina, we have been pretty good against the run in the prior 4 weeks to that. You know what I'm saying? So if we can't stop the pass, then they're going to run the ball on us. We need to come to play defense, stop the run and the pass, shut this team down. Let them know you're not even playoff material. Shut them down.
So what I'm hearing from you is the defensive line really needs to come to play and cornerbacks need to do their job. It's all going to happen right there in the middle of the field. If we can keep Tyrod Taylor in the pocket, I think we can win this game on the defense. Tyrod Taylor does his best when the plays break down and he gets out and moves around. Right now, their rush game, again, does scare me. They're second in the league with 49 big rush plays, and we're 25th in big rush plays with 25 of them. So that being said, I think that the offense is going to take care of itself. Buffalo's defense ranked middle of the pack. They're pretty mediocre. I think Derek Carr can pick that apart if the hand holds up. I think we'll be just fine there. I think the rushing game gets back to form this week. Again, nothing stellar, nothing that's going to blow you out of the water, but I look for us to get at least 100 yards on the ground and the passing offense to do what it does. And the defense, again, to keep Tyrod in the pocket and to keep those wide receivers in check. McCoy's going to get his. I think right there it's just about limiting the damage that he does. If we can keep him around 100 yards, we'll be okay. And again, I got to say it every week, don't give up the big play. That seems to be the real nail in our or the real thorn in our side. Last week, we take away the big plays on Carolina, and their offensive stats are pretty poor. But it was about 4 big plays that broke that game open for them. So it's looking pretty good. I mean, I feel like a win forthcoming, hopefully. But again, this could be a trap game. And I was looking past Houston. I was feeling pretty good about Carolina. I think I learned my lesson this season. Nothing's coming easy for us. And we just need to keep plodding along, as it were. Exactly.
Just keep plodding along. Derek Carr be Derek Carr. The defense has been bend, don't break. Just continue to be bend, don't break. We need to make sure that we get, David Amerson back. I don't want to see too much TJ Carey out there. I don't want to see too much DJ Hayden on the edges. So as long as we get those guys back and we continue to play a bend but don't break defense, the offense comes to play. And the passing game, like you said, the defense is not all that good, so we should be able to run our offense as we wish. Latavius Murray should have a chance to get a big game going this week, and we should look for a victory, and it shouldn't be a close one.
Speaking of plodding along and victories, let's look a little bit towards the end of the season before we get out of here. It's a jam-packed last quarter of the season. We're going to play all of our divisional opponents again coming up here. Let's talk about them, though, because right now we had a 1-game lead in the West where the 1B seed or the number 2 seed, if you want to look at it, we still have home field advantage. Of course, if we were to get to a championship game against New England, we would play that in New England at that point. But the Broncos, let's start with them. Are they a threat down the stretch? I look to them to possibly fade a little bit. I think they'll lose to the Patriots, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them lose to KC one more time, or possibly even us. What can we expect from the Broncos down the road? Or should we be worried about them knocking us off?
Absolutely not. I'm not worried about the Broncos at all. I think we've shown the Broncos that we have their number, and I think the Broncos know that as well. So no, am I worried about the Broncos? No, not at all.
All right, so along those lines, and I'm not downplaying them because they are a good team, as much as it pains me to say it. But why are we acting like Kansas City is not going to lose another game? Why are we acting like we can't beat them or they can't lose another game down the stretch? They play Atlanta next week on the road. Why are people acting like KC's going to finish the season perfect?
Until Kansas City loses another game, they're going to get that mark. They're going to get that respect. People are going to give it to them until they get beat by a team. I mean, look, this team has been pulling out victories, over Carolina, who we just pulled out the same close victory over, Denver last night. So, yeah, they've been pretty much pulling out games just like we have. Until they lose a game, they deserve that respect.
All right, fair enough. One last question before we get out of here, Kane, and anything else you want to add after that. This is a fill in the blank. To win the division, the Raiders have to blank.
To win the division, the Raiders have to beat Kansas City. Pretty much. If we don't beat Kansas City and Kansas City keep winning and we keep winning, then guess what? Kansas City wins the division. You don't beat You cannot expect Kansas City to lose just because you think they're gonna lose another game. Their fans and their public, their people, their organization, they thinking the same way we thinking. They thinking, oh, the Raiders gonna lose another game too. So if both of us are depending on each team to lose a game, then guess what? You're gonna start thinking about the other team and stop thinking about your own team. So we need to worry about us. Until Kansas City loses another game, they are Kansas City. Until we beat them, we can't beat them. You get it? It's that simple.
I couldn't. I'd like to disagree with you just for something interesting to say on the air, but I can't disagree with you. I think that's my point exactly. I've been saying it for the last 4 weeks that we have to win the game in Kansas City in December. I really think that's our whole season right there on that game. Regardless of what happens the rest of the games, we have to beat Kansas City if we want to win this division. So that's all I got for this week. You got anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I just want to say this week we need to come out and we need to establish a run game. We need to establish a pass game. We playing a not so good defense. So this is a game that we should take to get this game going back again, the running game going back again. You know what I mean? The passing game is already there. This is a game that the defense need to show us that they can shut the run down. You got a running back that's averaging 150-something yards a game. Shut the run game down. Shut it down. Show yourselves that you can shut the run game down. Shut Sammy Watkins down. Make sure Tyrod Taylor only has Robert Woods and Marquise Goodwin. No running game, no Sammy Watkins. Do that for us defense. Bend but don't break. But give us a little something more this week.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That being said, let's pull up Anchor and get this ship out of here. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at @PillageJustForFun. That's at @PillageJust4Fun. And you can listen to this podcast every week on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. I'm Kenny Stapler.
And I'm Raider Kane.
And we out here. Peace.